Okay, so the idea is to raise this dropped ceiling, which is a 7-foot height, up to match the 8-foot height in the rest of the house. So you can see 8-foot height here, and it's dropped down here for a couple of reasons, namely HVAC and plumbing. So the project would be to reroute some of this plumbing from the upstairs guest bathroom to allow us to lift up that to the same ceiling height and fix it to the floor joists there. The HVAC would also need to be rerouted, and so would some gas plumbing probably into a soffit box. So here's sort of what my thoughts are. You can see we've got one vent there, some flexible duct going through here and back in there. I'm not sure if you can really see. Yeah, there you go. So you got some flexible duct there going into the other room. And there's another vent right there in the middle of your screen. And then you see a vent for the sink in the back wall there. That would stay where it's at. But what we would be looking at doing as part of this project, basically we would need to, this is the bathtub drain with the P-trap. We need to shorten this, cut it about there, do the P-trap so that it's above the level of the joist so that we could fix the new ceiling right here. We'd also need to reroute the hot and cold water lines for the bath / shower, and you can follow them over here. They go up for the vanity right here as well, and then this drain is for the vanity sink. We would need to shorten that as well, so cut it right about there probably, and then twist this so that instead of shooting out at an angle and meeting up right here with the drain from the toilet, which is this one here. Each of these 3 drains would go parallel to the floor joists and up in the joist cavity up to that block at the end there, and then drop down into a soffit box framed out at the same height this drop ceiling is, basically right where that wall is. So there would be a soffit box that goes the length of the room here to house a new drain line that goes over to the main stack right there. So it would basically be a matter of rerouting the PVC down the joist channel here, and for the toilet here, and for the vanity here. So those 3 would go all the way over to that block, and then they would drop down, and then there would be a line going over to the main stack, and they would each drop into that line at the appropriate spot for their joist channel. That part I think would be pretty easy. I might be underestimating it, but it really just seems like a matter of cutting and fitting some new PVC in a smaller area. The part that I'm most nervous about would be the copper piping for the hot and cold water. That I think we could replace with PEX, but it would need to have holes drilled through the floor joists to stay above that level. So we'd be looking at, they come out right over here. Don't know if you can see that. So they're coming up right there from the wall, right there. And then over here, next to that, we've got 2 going off to the sink, the utility sink that is right there. So those could stay where they're at, basically right there, because this is over a cabinet that's not going to move. So that height could stay the same, essentially. I mean, well, we may want to actually raise the ceiling there. So depending on how it would work, we'd probably have to fit the copper right there into some PEX and run the PEX from that point and that point for the hot and cold water. Probably have to run that up into the joist cavity above where they are now and through this joist. Well, we could run them parallel over to here and then probably both up into the bath right there. Right now, one of them goes in there and the other one's on the other side of the joist. So the hot's on that side of the joist and cold's on this side, I assume. You'll notice while I got the camera here that there's also a gas line. This guy right here goes through the joist cavity at this part of the house and then through a main support structural beam and then out to the stove, which is down there under the plastic gas stove. So that guy we could leave where it is in this part, and actually you can see where it drops down right over there. That is fine. That would be dropping down into the area of the soffit box. Then it shoots across this way and goes into the ceiling of the next room over, through that little gap right in the middle there. That gas line I would like to keep at a higher height, but if we just need to build a soffit around it, it's probably doable. Although I think it would make sense to have the soffit in this part of the room go where that pipe is now. But when we get into the other room, we might want to do some rerouting of that gas line as well. So we're talking about rerouting some hot and cold water copper plumbing, some PVC drainage, and potentially some gas line. The other part that I haven't really thought too much about is there is electrical up here. You can see some wires snaking back and forth. We have to figure out what to do with those. Probably drill small holes in the joist to run those through as well. So probably a pretty big project all told. Kind of leaning against doing it, but just kind of want to think through it here. So I'll give you another peek of where that gas line is going now. I don't know if you can see it here, but yeah, there it is. You can see it right along the bottom of right there. The gas line going across and then into that cavity between the two rooms there where the vent goes as well. So let's follow those back out here and I'll show you where those go. So gas line is basically right here going through the ceiling into this room. Okay. So it's coming in across here and you can see it right there. So there, you can see where it's coming from. You can see the HVAC going across it. The idea is to basically get that HVAC and that gas line into a soffit box that would run on the corner here, about 16 inches out and about a foot down. Well, right, this current height is about a foot down from where the new ceiling height would be. The new ceiling height would be up there on the bottom of the floor joists. So about a foot higher. And then we would also be raising it up in this part of the house, which is the front entryway. So the soffit would run, if we were rerouting this gas line, we would basically have to take that gas line and move it that way, probably right there, do a 90-degree, and then move it through here, and then I could do a 90-degree back to where it is now, and then run it through the soffit back right here, and then back up where it goes up now, leave that part intact, and just have the ceiling height be higher, except for right where it is. There. So, a lot of work. I don't know if it's really worth doing, but as you can tell, I'm pretty tall, and when you have a drop-down light fixture that comes down to here, which we had before, you know, I'm a few inches from hitting my head. Even though I'm not, it just feels kind of claustrophobic. But, you know, we're going to put some recessed lighting in. I think that might do the trick, but sure would love to have a single height ceiling through this part of the house to this part of the house. I just like that 8-foot ceiling height a lot better. So let us know what you think.